Started. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm very proud to be here at the first APAC admin hug. I agree, APAC needs all the exclamation marks. So very excited to be here. Quick intro for me. As Kristeen mentioned, I'm a product manager here at HubSpot. The teams that I work with are our connected email integrations and platform teams. I've been a HubSpotter since 2015, and I am based in Anchorage, Alaska. So that's a big part of why I'm here talking to you today. They were looking for some folks on the West Coast, and I'm pretty far on the West Coast as far as the states go. So it's 5 p.m. for me yesterday for you all. So happy to be talking to people on the other side of the international date line. That's always exciting. All right, so the things I'm going to cover today from my world of connected email are a couple different things. So first, I'll talk about kind of the different types of email connections that you can have in HubSpot and how to make sure that you're picking the right one for your use case when you're helping people set up a HubSpot portal. And then I'm going to touch on some industry updates. I'm sure by now a lot of you have probably heard of some things Google and Yahoo have been doing. I'm going to kind of cover a quick overview of what HubSpot did to make sure you're good from a marketing email perspective, and then some of the extra considerations for the connected email world. Then I'm just going to run through a bunch of tips for improving your deliverability for connected email sends. It's a little less thought of in the world. And I'm going to share a preview of our roadmap because we have some exciting things coming this year. So please put any questions in the chat. Kristeen will interrupt me as needed to ask them. I'm happy to spend time focusing on anything that's of particular value or interest to all of you guys. All right, so starting with picking your use case. In case there's anyone here who is newer to HubSpot or the connected email world, I want to kind of lay the foundation for what my teams power. When you connect your email to HubSpot, you're setting up an integration, and that integration is foundational to really helping your CRM become a true system of record and source of truth for your business. So all of the things that connecting your email does is it allows you to send emails from HubSpot from the CRM. You can log contact emails back to the CRM. You get open and click tracking with real-time notifications using the activity feed. You can schedule emails to send in the future. You can send email templates and sequences. Sequences is one of the most popular HubSpot tools, and we are the power that, we power that functionality. If you're using Conversations Inbox for Service Hub and you're setting up an email channel, that also comes through connected email. And if you don't actually have maybe sales reps who like to work in HubSpot very much, but they're using the Chrome extension or the Outlook add-ins, we're doing a lot to power that and make sure that works and that data gets back into HubSpot too. So we have integrations with Google, Outlook, Exchange. We have a generic IMAP connection, and there's also a HubSpot hosted inbox functionality specific for Service Hub. So that's a really high-level overview of kind of all of the things that come up in my world. So if you have any questions about those things as we're going and how some of the stuff I'm talking about impacts those, please feel free to ask them.
I have a question. When is the Safari coming for inbox extensions?
Oh, that's a good question. So my team doesn't build the actual email extensions, but I can touch base with the folks who do. I'm not sure if they have anything in the works for Safari, but I can let you know. And I think we have a way to follow up after the session. So Kristeen could share whatever.
From what I understand, like a lot, like I don't know, at least with Bing, at least I don't know if it's the same with like with what do you call that? With the Safari, because I feel like the extensions use the same kind of file type. So if you go to the Chrome extension store, there might be a possibility that it works with it, but I know Apple's a little bit weird with that. So yeah, if you could double check with your team.
Absolutely, yeah. I know, and if there's like particular reasons that you're using Safari and not Chrome, I'm sure they would like the HubSpot here would be interested to know.
Caroline's Apple Mail. Apple Mail. All right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah, we can look into that. Yeah, happy to be a connection point too for any of the partner teams here. All right. So I'll start by talking a little bit more about the different types of connected email you can have. So when you are setting up, your user account in HubSpot for the first time, one of the, I think it's like step 3 in user onboarding is connecting your email. So you'll be sent to settings and to your general profile settings, and there's an email tab there. When you connect your email there, it's called a personal connected email. And the primary use case there is for Sales Hub. And that would be me connecting like my hannah@hubspot.com email. It's a person and a person's email for a particular individual. And the functionality that I get through that email allows me to send emails through HubSpot and is focused on syncing back in the replies that I get from contacts. So you can use sequences with a personal email, and that's kind of the big motivator for this use case is, a sales rep is probably doing a lot of prospecting, sending out a lot of email. It's really important to get any engagement that comes back from that logged into the CRM. And that's what the personal email is designed for. A team email, if any of you are Service Hub users, you've probably set up your conversations inbox and maybe added a couple different channels like chat, a team email. HubSpot has SMS and WhatsApp in the works right now. If you're connecting a team email, that would be something where like a literal team that works together in HubSpot, like your support department. So support@yourcompany.com would want to work here. And the behavior for a team email brings in all of the incoming emails that email account is receiving into HubSpot. And that way the team can collaborate and work on them in the conversations inbox. The reason it's important to know the difference between these two accounts is a person like me might not want every email that I'm getting at my work account to sync into HubSpot. You can imagine if you work in HR or you are the CEO, you might get some sensitive emails that probably shouldn't be in your CRM. We've had many situations like that where people got a little confused and we had to do some data cleanup. So that's why it's really important to understand who is the person who's connecting their email to HubSpot and how should they do this? And is it part of a conversations channel where it's collaborative, or is it just an individual who wants to be able to send email out of HubSpot?
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a bunch of like horror stories that some of these admins have with like the connected inbox for like the conversations and stuff. It's like, why are all my personal emails being seen by the rest of the company? Well, connected in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty messy HR professional situations. Those are definitely the worst because you don't want the internal workings of your personnel getting shared in a portal where everyone's supposed to be working and seeing all that information. So very important to know what you're doing what for. I'm sorry, my dog is making weird noises behind me if you could hear that. Okay, so because that's so important, I wanted to quickly highlight some updates that came out last year to help you as admins better monitor if people are actually getting their emails set up, to make sure that they're doing it and they're doing it properly. So just to go back to the last slide really quickly, a team email, this is managed in your conversations inbox settings. And so you can always come in here and just quickly see like what channels are connected and make sure there's nothing connected there that should be. With the personal emails, everything in this part of settings, as you're all probably very familiar, being admins, is specific to the particular user who's logged in. So unless you wanted to go through your list of however many users and log in as everybody and check this, it was pretty impossible to see what people were doing. So we had a great collaboration with the users team last year when they were revamping the user record and the users table to start surfacing connected email data here. So if you're in settings and you go to users and teams, there is in the table of users, you can see if someone has their email connected. You can also see if they have their calendar connected. That's kind of the sister team of ours. And then if you drill into the actual user record, you can see exactly what account it is that they have connected as well, to make sure that maybe you have someone who is notorious for not paying attention on your team and they connected their personal Gmail and not their company email, and you want to make sure your business is being well represented out there. And I can also show these in a test portal too, if it would be helpful. All right. All right, so hopefully I've convinced you all that connecting your email is valuable and also important to get right. So I wanted to quickly touch on some industry updates. For anyone who isn't aware, I want to say it was October of last year, Google and Yahoo made some announcements that a lot of things that were previously just considered best practices in the email industry, they were going to start treating as requirements for sending email and be a lot more aggressive about if your email didn't meet those requirements, it wasn't going to get to a recipient's inbox. It was going to go to spam. And so in February, March, they started rolling some of these changes out. And so I'm going to talk through quickly some things that HubSpot did to help you out here. So the first requirement is around email authentication. So if for an email to be authenticated, it just means that the receiving email provider knows that you actually are who you say you are, and you're allowed to be sending emails as who you say you are, and you're not doing some shady things. And so there's 3 authentication methods that Google and Yahoo require, which are SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And what HubSpot has done there, I'll talk about the requirements a little bit more here, and then what we've done in the next slide. Making it easy to unsubscribe if your email isn't wanted. So Google and Yahoo are requiring a one-click unsubscribe experience. And they're also cracking down on spam rates. So in order to make sure that you're actually sending emails that people want, they were making sure that if you are sending more than 0.3% of mail that's getting flagged as spam, you're going to be penalized. So those are the requirements. And what HubSpot has done to make sure that you're good is, from an email authentication perspective, we have added all kinds of alerts and warnings and help to configure in settings to let you know in your email sending domains settings if you are actually authenticated to send email with HubSpot. So it will be very clear if you're set or not. And actually, if you just go and look at your list of marketing emails, it will tell you what emails are good and what aren't. So the UI is very clear on making sure that you're authenticated to send with HubSpot, and it's a pretty quick process to just go through and finish that step if you haven't already. For unsubscribe, there's nothing that you have to do to be compliant. HubSpot takes care of all of this for you as part of the email sending by adding a particular header called list unsubscribe to all of your marketing email sends. And as far as sending wanted emails, this is the one that kind of might require the most work from you as an admin. Google, holds a lot of their data pretty tight to their chest, and so they don't actually share your spam rates with us. You have to log in and set up a Google account in Google Postmaster Tools, just verifying again that you work with your domain, and they'll show you what your spam rates are. But if you're concerned about the numbers that you're seeing there and they're higher than 0.3%, HubSpot has some great tools like gray mail suppression that can help you get that back under control. And that's a very high level of a lot of really big changes. My colleague Jackie gave an admin hug presentation, I want to say 2 weeks ago, going way in depth with all of this and the specifics of what HubSpot has done to help you for marketing email. So I would highly recommend giving that a watch after this if you have more questions and didn't happen to catch that hug already.
From what I'm understanding, the main things is really making sure that all your settings are there and
Yes.
that you're completely verified and authenticated. And then the second is just like being better about just managing your spam rates, and also basically just segmenting your audience, making sure that you're actually sending the right emails to them. Because they're clamping down on this, because there's so many emails going out. They just want to make sure that people are receiving the things that they want.
Exactly. And at HubSpot, we want you to send quality email. If you're sending good emails to people who are engaged and, good prospects for your business, you're going to be fine. So if you're doing all the right things and you're following, the way that our tools are designed to work and to help you, you're probably in a good space. The goal of these changes from Google and Yahoo is just to crack down more on bad actors and people who are being really spammy. So if you're using HubSpot, you probably already are doing some really great stuff, and we're just here to support you to make sure that nothing is falling through the cracks here. All right, so that's marketing email. There's a lot of things. That's primarily what these changes are, but there are a few nuances in this like integrations part of the world that I want to quickly touch on because I've seen some questions online about it. So for connected email sends, you don't actually have to authenticate your sending domain with HubSpot like you do for marketing email, because we're not sending the email really. We're an integration. We're just connecting to your Google account or Outlook account and sending those emails. So what you'll want to do is work with your internal IT team to make sure that you do have SPF or DKIM set up on your DNS records for your email sending domains, and that you have a DMARC policy configured. If you are also a HubSpot marketing email customer, you probably already have done this as part of prepping for marketing email, but it's just good to double check and make sure that any domains that you're using for any other kind of email sending in your company are configured in your DNS setup as well. For the one-click unsubscribe requirement, this one is a little bit more of a gray area. And the important question to ask yourself is really, are you a bulk sender? That's the primary thing that Google and Yahoo are focusing on, which means that you're sending over 5,000 emails a day from your domain. So if you're sending a lot of marketing emails and you have a large sales team and everyone's sending emails from yourcompany.com all day long, you might be sending this volume of email, in which case you would want to make sure that in addition to following, those unsubscribe links are required in HubSpot marketing emails, you'd want to make sure that you're opting into unsubscribe links for connected email sends. And this is a link to our knowledge base article on how to enable that setting. It's on the same page that you connect your email at. So this is a best practice that we recommend everyone does anyways, but you just kind of want to check your sending volume there. And if you're on the, if you're over 5,000, definitely consider this if you haven't already to make sure that you're covered. And then sending wanted emails. This, very similar to what you have to do for marketing email. If you've already signed up for a Google Postmaster account to see your spam rates, you're going to see everything related to your connected email sending account there. All of the Google Postmaster reporting is done by sending domain. So you're actually getting a holistic view of how all of your sending is going. So, we just say, keep following our best practices. Don't break our terms of service, like purchasing lists, because those purchase lists could include spam traps, and that would for sure get you on a bad list and increase your spam rate. So again, nothing really to panic about. Just keep following the best practices and what HubSpot recommends, and you should be fine. The big call to action with this one is just, double checking in with your local IT team to make sure you have those authentication methods set up. Okay. And happy to answer questions later too, after some of this has digested a little more. I know this stuff is like on the heavier, more technical side too.
Yeah, and I think with the email authentication, I know there's a lot of technical terms there, but usually if you have an IT team, they will understand what you're talking about when you show them all these things. And I'm pretty sure also the admin hug on this particular case will do a deeper dive into all of these things versus this high level overview that we have right now.
Exactly. It wouldn't be fair for me to try and do justice to explaining the nuances of how SPF and DKIM and DMARC work when Jackie does a much better job of it in that other presentation. So if your IT person does not understand what you're talking about when you say these terms, you can make them watch that talk. That should get you. All right. So that is what's happening. And as I mentioned, Google and Yahoo have started rolling out these changes, but they're taking it slow. So you might not be seeing any impact now if you're not following the best practices, but that doesn't mean you won't. I know they were talking about starting with, just email sent to gmail.com addresses and not Google Workspace yet. That could change. So the sooner you make sure you're in the clear with everything, the better, just to set you up and not do damage that you would have to backtrack from.
Yeah, and fixing damage, especially in the email world, is a lot lot harder to fix than like, just kind of maintaining what you currently have. I remember having like a client where their spam rate just like skyrocketed. Like HubSpot's deliverability team had to like contact us about it.
Yeah.
Is that still a process that happens if
Oh
like
yes, yep. I know our deliverability team very well. They are a set of very smart, hardworking people, and they will contact you.
Yeah,
If
they
you
will
have
be
done
like, you
something
need to
bad.
do this
Yes.
thing. You need to do this thing. You need to fix it. And I'm like, okay. But yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, just like Kristeen was saying, email deliverability problems are so hard to come back from. And the direction that Google and Yahoo are taking these changes now, these are things that always have been recommended and have always been best practices. They're implementing like rules now, and it's going to start with, okay, you don't follow the rules, you're going to go to spam instead of the inbox folder. They could escalate it further. It could be like, we're not even going to send that to the recipient. We're going to blocklist your domain and we're not going to accept any emails from you. Like, the email industry has just become so bloated that email providers are really trying to turn it around and protect recipients, which we all love. I mean, we all get marketing emails and unsolicited emails all the time, I'm sure. It's hard work maintaining a clean inbox. So this is good stuff for everyone, and making sure that people get content that they want. So be on the right side of email history and get yourself set up correctly.
We should put that, like, we should like frame that quote, be on the right side of email history.
All right. I think that's the end of my Google Yahoo stuff, but yeah, happy to dive into that if anyone has questions later. But on a very related topic, this is just kind of expanding this to improving your deliverability moreover, and more best practices and things you should be thinking about. I'm just going to run through a whole bunch of different suggestions here. So the first one that really follows on to what I was just saying, we were just talking about Google Yahoo. Microsoft has recently announced that they have intentions to follow in Google and Yahoo's footsteps with these requirements. So if you thought you were safe because maybe Google's not big in your region, or you don't care about Yahoo, who knew they were still around, Microsoft is coming too. So everyone is moving this direction. And then I mentioned adding unsubscribe links earlier. This is a screenshot of where that setting is for every user for connected email sends, to make sure that unsubscribe links get in. So settings, general email, this little checkbox for you to do there. All right, next up, you want to make sure you're increasing the quality of your email to improve your engagement. A great way to use this is to use personalization tokens and placeholders. This is a personal example from me, so maybe not the most relevant to what your business is doing, but this is a template that I use when I'm reaching out to users for user feedback. You can see I'm using a personalization token here for the contact's first name. I'm using a meetings link so that I get like better engagement instead of just them opening the email and not really knowing what to do. And then I have all of these placeholders that I've added for me to add more detail about what I want to talk about. For you, you might have contact properties that are coming in that are very specific to this email, and you can use those as personalization tokens. I highly recommend, using our templates and our sequences tool to speed up and automate your sales efforts. But if you don't have anything to personalize them, it's going to start looking spammy really quickly. So the more you can do to help your sales team kind of slow down and take the time to just like add the most impactful bits of personalization, the better. And maybe one of you will get an email from me one day like this, and you'll know exactly where it came from. All right. Next up, you want to protect your sending domain. We were just talking so much about the reputation of a sending domain, the spam rates, and how that's important to get under control. Something that you can consider is adding different subdomains for your different types of email. This is a little bit of a skip ahead to the next section, but we have in beta right now the ability to add your own subdomain for connected email sending, which is a new thing. Previously, it was just using HubSpot domains. So you might want to have, an email subdomain for your marketing email. You might have a couple there if you have like different business units. You might want to use a different one for your sales and email sending. Maybe your marketing team is like, keep our sales team away from us. We're protecting our marketing email deliverability, and they are not in the future yet. We're still trying to get them on the right side of email history. Subdomains are a great way to think about segmenting your email traffic. And then preventing unwanted senders. One of the worst things you could do for your domain is have people who are not doing what they should and sending bad email, sending email over your domain. We have a permission that can disable the ability for a user to connect their inbox to HubSpot. So I mentioned this earlier, but connecting your email is just one of those, like, every user gets the prompt to do that as part of user onboarding. And maybe you have a lot of people joining your HubSpot account who, like, that has nothing to do with what you want them in there doing. Maybe they're just building reports or building content, and you don't even want to run the risk that they might do this and then inadvertently start sending things. You can just disable this in user permissions. So it's under the account settings category in user permissions, which I'm sure you all are masters of the user permissions table, but that's where this is.
Yeah.
You
This is also amazing for reporting, just because, like, each personal email is counted as like a sales activity, and then you kind of want to just report on specific departments, like activities on HubSpot, right? So this kind of cleans up the data that shows up there by like toggling the switch on and off. And I think with the subdomains as well, I think that's a pretty big update, just because, yeah, like sometimes, at least based off of my experience, kind of like onboarding people, sometimes you have like huge organizations with silos and like completely different processes. And like you might still have like sales teams who are sending out to like a bulk list, but you still have your marketing KPIs that you're trying to hit, right? And like these salespeople are just basically ruining your entire like email sending ranking or rating and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of like the benefit of having a separate subdomain for your marketing emails and also your sales emails.
Yeah, we love our sales users. They're my core user persona that I'm solving for, but we know the background of the sales industry and what a lot of that is coming from. And, marketers want to protect their domains.
And sometimes it takes time for them to change their ways, especially if they're used to doing a certain thing, right? So it's like, gradually try to like change how they're approaching emails, especially with all these changes. But at the same time, like you don't have to do it at the cost of like your own marketing email KPIs.
Exactly. And in the meantime, the benefit of this update is that then you are at least more in control of your sales department and you can improve that reputation. Previously, you're just using a HubSpot provided domain, which is kind of shared across the entire HubSpot user base. So you might be getting penalized by behaviors of people you don't even know at different companies. So a great way to just take more control over your own domain and deliverability. All right, next up, follow the numbers. Everyone, I'm sure we're all HubSpot admins, you almost live for the data in a way I don't even understand. So make sure that you're investing in outreach strategies that show really strong intent to buy from your sales team. So we know sequences are where most of the email is happening. We have some really great sequence reporting. So if you're just in sequences, building a sequence, I think some people don't realize there's a whole performance section when you're looking at a sequence that tells you the overall meeting rate and reply rate of that sequence. And it breaks it down by each step so you can see exactly what is successful and what's not. So if you have a sales rep who's closing more deals, what are they doing in their sequences that's different from the person who isn't? And really take all of those learnings and see what's working for your company and dive into that and iterate, experiment. Sequences has A/B testing now that you can, really just try and find the best ways to get good numbers. And then also, we have huge reporting tools in HubSpot, as you all know. There's a prospecting activities report that's pretty new with the prospecting app that got released last year. And that has some additional great sequences reporting too that will give you overall sequences volume of your portal, how that's doing. And in case it wasn't clear from what I'm talking about here, replies and meeting rates, like those are the things that are really a sign of success. We all love opens and clicks. Analytics are great. Those things used to be really strong indicators, but now a lot of it is non-human stuff. It's, a software as the email's coming in that's checking for phish and bad links. And maybe someone didn't actually click that link or open that link. A lot of those numbers are inflated. We do what we can at HubSpot to try and make sure they're reflective of accuracy. But if someone actually replies to you, and if they book a meeting, that was a person and that they really are interested in what you want, especially if it winds up leading to a closed deal.
Yeah, it's like the way that cookies are being tracked on emails nowadays, it's kind of hard to tell whether a click was really a click or an open really was an open. And like to your point, there are like tools now that check emails nowadays, and sometimes those tools are counted in those metrics. A follow-up question I did have is like for these meeting rates and reply rates, like is there a specific like standard rate that you'd want to kind of hit for these sequences or these emails or something like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I can see why you asked it, but it varies so much company to company and industry to industry. So if you have, a really small sales team and you're only sending to like highly qualified leads, you're probably going to have really high rates, and anything that drops below, 50% would be alarming to you. But that's not the case in the reality of business. We have a lot of people who are just, reaching out to everyone they can who seems mildly interested. So there's no real benchmarks there. That's why I recommend more comparing, within your org between the different sales reps and see the successful people versus the ones who are struggling to hit their numbers, and use those insights to guide how you can improve. What you would want to be more concerned with is spam rates. So if you're getting no one's opening or clicking and your Google Postmaster spam rates are really high, then like that's alarming. But as long as you're getting some good engagement, you can keep following the numbers to the right content.
Yeah, and if you're like looking to, I guess, create some sort of KPIs for like just general reply rates or just meeting rates or whatever, it'd be good if you could kind of connect that back with like your revenue metrics. So I think big part of what they talk about in the super admin bootcamp is kind of drilling down those metrics. Was it the admin bootcamp? I forgot. One of the bootcamps. It just kind of goes over like how do you break that down into like actual activity metrics that your team should be going for.
That was a great plug for the admin bootcamp. So we should just say that that's where you learned it. All right, great. Oop. There we go. All right, this one probably goes without saying, but I work in email and you all are a captive audience right now, so please don't be spammy. Make sure you are sending to marketing qualified leads. I hope a lot of you are, using multiple HubSpot hubs and can really track that life cycle and see the contact's intent. Really think about when you want to have that handoff happen from marketing to sales. Take your spam complaints seriously. Check in on those Google Postmaster rates. See how your sending domain is doing. And if that wasn't enough to convince you, this is part of HubSpot's acceptable use policy to not send spam. So please don't send unsolicited email. If you're, selling to other countries that have more specific regulations, I'm sure we all remember when GDPR dropped a couple years ago. If you work with anyone in the EU, just some really good to be mindful of, so that, as Kristeen mentioned earlier, we have a deliverability team at HubSpot who might reach out if you're having trouble. We also have some even more intense teams who might reach out and get your account into trouble if you don't follow these things. So we're trying to protect you and help you do the best thing for your business. All right, I think, yes, this is the fun part of the call and probably how I got those of you who are here to stay. I'd love to share a little bit about what's on my roadmap because we have some cool things happening this year. So I'll just start again with like a quick plug for the custom tracking domains. This is in beta right now. If you don't see the ability to request access in the product update section of your portal, feel free to reach out to me after and I can make sure you're ungated. This is really, really easy to set up, just like you connect any other domain to HubSpot, and it works as soon as you connect the domain. There's no other setup steps. And then you no longer have weird HubSpot links in your emails. Everything will be branded and look like it's coming from your business no matter where the contact clicks. So I'm very excited about this one, and I hope you guys are too. All right, coming soon. We are currently working on the ability for you all as admins to set more precise send limits for your users. So in the interest of deliverability, and we were talking about encouraging sales reps to take their time and personalize their emails a little bit before they get sent out. Some sales reps aren't going to do that unless they're forced to. And if they can send 1,000 emails per day and they can enroll as many people in a sequence as quickly as possible, they're going to. So one way you can, force them to take a little bit more time is to bring this number down and say, I only want you to send 100 really high quality emails every day. I know you're not taking the time to personalize well if you're sending too much volume. So we are working on this right now. This will allow you to bring that number down to something that maybe makes more sense for your business. And then we are also adding, I mentioned that unsubscribe setting. Those of you who are paying attention probably caught that it's on that screen that only a user has control over. And so it only controls adding unsubscribe links to emails that they send. We're working on adding a portal level setting so that you as an admin can say, please just add unsubscribe links for everyone in my portal so they don't have to think about it and we can make sure we're good. So those should be coming in the next couple months or sooner. Stay tuned. And then later this year, just to kind of build off what I was just showing, there will be an additional setting in frequency controls to not just limit what's happening on a daily basis, but it might be minutes or chunks of minutes. We're still refining. If you have an opinion, reach out to me. I'd love to hear your feedback. Just on the pacing of emails as they send through the day. We've had some, bigger customers who have really large sales teams reach out to us and say, hey, we only want like one email to send every 10 minutes. We just found that we're sending so much email that Google doesn't seem to like it and thinks we are spammy if we send too much. And just kind of ways to really kind of hard enforce some of those best practices that you might be hearing about in the industry or just have learned from experience.
Just to confirm, this is for one-to-one and sequences, not so much with marketing emails. Marketing emails, you'll still have kind of control via the usual thing about which users to send to and stuff.
Exactly. Marketing email does already have some frequency controls, but if you have more things that you're looking for in this space, even maybe with other channels that aren't email, I mentioned WhatsApp and SMS earlier, though we all work together in the same group and are thinking about this problem space. So if you'd like to see more specific things in the frequency controls area, please reach out. We absolutely value that feedback. All right, and then the other thing that's coming later this year that I'm very excited about, but I don't have a screenshot to share yet from our designs because it's actually pretty easy to imagine. Just like you go to a contacts page or the company's page or the deals page and you see your list of everything, those basic CRM objects, it makes sense they have a list, but you might have also noticed too in more recent years, well, you have a list of all your tasks. You can see all of your calls. We will be building an email engagement page where you can see all of your emails. And the real demand that we've heard from around this is data cleanup. So, I mentioned way back at the beginning of this call, people setting things up incorrectly and maybe needing to remove some emails from your CRM that were not supposed to be there. Bulk deletes will be a lot easier and actually doable and self-service for you all once we have a page where you can sort and filter and bulk action email engagements. So very excited about that one coming later this year. All right, so those were just some I wanted to highlight. This is, an overview of everything that I wanted to kind of share. So there's a few more things here. So if anyone had questions about maybe some other things that catch your eye here. I'm happy to talk about them a little bit more, but I don't want to run us over time. So this could just be to get you excited if you're really into connected email after listening to my talk. Okay. I think that is the end of all of my slides. So Kristeen, I don't know if there were any other questions that you had or anyone in the chat was wondering about.
No other questions. I feel like people were really into just getting to know all the different details about the connected emails, the changes with the Yahoo and Google, as well as like all those new updates and stuff like that. Does anyone have any feature requests or any questions they have in particular about their email sending, connected emails? Samantha says, food for thought, would be great if HubSpot could have merge fields like variables in PandaDoc, wherein you could autofill info like topics or keywords in your email. Would save me time copy pasting stuff.
Oh, I'm not super familiar with PandaDoc. How exactly do the merge fields work? I mean, I can look it up too after the call, but that's not interesting. I can do my own research too. I just haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, or Samantha, if you want to hop into the call to just like chat with Hannah, I'm happy to like just add you in.
Not to put you on the spot.
Not
Sorry.
to put you on the spot.
We're just very.
She runs the Manila hug. She's used to it. I see you in your Manila hug. Yeah, sure. Let me. Yes, girl. Yes. Let me. All right, here you go.
Hello, APAC friends.
Hello, Samantha.
Because in HubSpot we use it a lot with PandaDoc, and one of the things I like about PandaDoc is they have these things called variables. So they're anything enclosed in those brackets that you have, and you can set up those variables. On PandaDoc, some of the variables include like first name, last name, but I don't think that's needed in HubSpot because we have our properties already in personalization tokens. But for things like what you wrote, the details, if whatever detail is in your subject line is also something you want to put as a keyword in your inbox, in your like first part of the email, if it's the same thing, usually you'd like copy paste it, right? But if you have a variable, if the variable is listed as say topic of the email, you just have to click on one variable, either on the subject or on the email content itself, and type in whatever your topic is, like say feedback on email deliverability. So whatever you type inside that variable will automatically be filled in any other variable in the email. So that's how it works in PandaDoc when we have documents. Like say you don't want to write non-disclosure agreement 20 times in the agreement itself. So by having that variable, you're able to kind of like speed things up and avoid copy pasting. And at the same time, it prevents like faulty typing or grammar errors and things like that.
That's great. I mean, you've convinced me that I want it. Like clearly you saw my email template and I have that detail where I'm just writing the same thing over and over. That's fascinating.
Yeah. I think that's a common thing too, because like I know HubSpot does have like placeholder tokens that you can put in, but if you had like a panel on the right side that said like detail and then you just type it in once, then it just filled it in the subject line and in the text field itself. Like that would save people so much time. And I think the sales reps would be super happy because then you can just use it in sequences as well. But yeah, I guess like that's where the complexity lies in for the product development team for HubSpot. It's just like, how do we put that into the entire user experience?
Figure out though. That's for us to figure out. That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
exactly. But it's a great idea.
It's a really great idea. And yeah, Samantha, I love what you said about just like the inadvertent errors too. Like nothing more embarrassing than realizing you had a typo in an email after you sent it. And yeah, anything to keep me from doing that less is a great idea.
Yeah, like and also like what if you copy pasted the wrong one from like a different email and
No,
And it's just like, oh, I've done that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other ideas or questions from the chat? We do have 5 minutes left. I'm gonna going once, going twice.
Fail examples. Ooh, what do you mean by fail, Gabe? Just like don't let your HR person connect their email as a team
What
chain.
are
Those kind of
what are your horror stories basically?
oh man,
Pick your poison.
gonna have me like struggling with all of the things that I've worked so hard to get over. No, I mean, so part of the reason I've really emphasized that, connect your own domain for sales email tracking now is in the past with those HubSpot owned domains, we have had, yeah, here comes the drama. Like I mentioned, they're shared across the HubSpot user base, and we can't always catch the bad actors in time. And so over the years, the reputation of those tracking domains got pretty bad, and we would get like blacklisted by Microsoft or Google or Spamhaus. And when that happens, that meant that none of the tracking links and like any of the emails that you all were sending were working for your contacts. And that to me was like really, really scary, because if that's not just something that like breaks for you as HubSpot users, that's your customers and making you look bad to like your prospects and customers. And that's like the last thing we want to do. So for me, those are like the really exciting product wins where we can protect you even more from anything looking bad to your customers. So that was like, I've had a couple scary moments there. I think, yeah, just, I don't know, any other email fail examples? See, I'm gonna wake up in the middle of the night with things that I have totally suppressed. But I'd say like I'm more pleasantly surprised than not. We like to give our sales reps a hard time. They're sending a lot of email, they're trying to crank it out, but some really great people working, and more the funny ones tend to be the ones that stick out where, copy pasted the wrong thing or sent the link to your colleague's meeting link and they got booked and got to close the deal instead of you. So yeah, I'll let you know if I find any other nightmares in the middle of the night. Thanks so much, Gabe.
Alrighty. Any other questions, prompts, conversation topics? How did you get into connected emails, by the way, Hannah? Like, how did that?
Oh,
yeah. I feel like that's a very specific niche kind of like you could get into.
Yeah. So I started at HubSpot in our support team, and I was working with our Sales Hub products for a couple years before I decided that I wanted to get into product management. And this was the team that had a job opening. And I was like, oh, I know that team because I had been working with sequences and the sales extensions. And I was like, that team, there's a lot of interesting things. And they touch, there's some high risk stuff, and email is complicated. I don't know if I want to go for it, but I did. And I've got a really great team, and I've had to learn a lot about email to get, I didn't mean to have that thumbs up come up. That's kind of funny. Yeah, so it was just kind of an opportunity that came along at the right time when I wanted to get into product management. And here I am now knowing all things email and, talking to Google and Yahoo and Microsoft and you all. So thanks so much for listening.
Alrighty, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Hannah, if you want to like share your contact details, if anybody wants to reach out to you, you can just drop it into the chat or show your slides or something like that. So thank you everyone for joining us for our first APAC hug. Hopefully you learned something amazing about connected emails today, and like there's tons of amazing updates coming up with like the sending frequencies and whatever. I'm sure like us like HubSpot admin nerds will like be happy about that, because just like, yay, more control. And then also like the permission settings and whatnot. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Hannah directly. You can add her on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find, just because like she's from HubSpot. We're all in the HubSpot
Yeah,
field.
look
She's
for the
probably
orange
the first
background.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the orange circle. Yeah. So thank you, and we'll share like the recording with you all afterwards, or if you don't find it in your inbox, you can see it on our YouTube page. All right. Thank you for joining, everybody. Thank you, Hannah, for joining us all the way from Alaska.
Thank you,
And then,
Kristeen.
yeah, look out for more APAC events. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.